Everyone talks about the end of World War I in 1918, but what if I told you that for millions, the fighting was just getting started? The years immediately following the armistice were a powder keg, igniting new, brutal conflicts that reshaped nations and set the stage for the rest of the 20th century. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're diving into a period often overlooked in history textbooks, the chaotic, violent years immediately following the so-called end of the Great War. We usually hear about the armistice, the celebrations, and then straight to the roaring 20s. But that's only part of the story. Shows a world map highlighting Central and Eastern Europe and the Middle East. While Western Europe slowly licked its wounds, much of Eastern Europe, the former Ottoman Empire, and even parts of Central Asia erupted into a series of interconnected brutal conflicts. Empires had crumbled, leaving power vacuums, newly independent nations vying for territory, and old ethnic rivalries boiling over. It was a messy, complex, and incredibly bloody time. Think about it. World War I supposedly ended on November 11, 1918, but for countless people, peace was a distant dream. Instead, they faced the Hungarian-Romanian War, the Polish-Soviet War, the Ukrainian-Soviet War, the Turkish War of Independence, and even the Third Anglo-Afghan War. These weren't minor skirmishes, they were full-blown wars that dramatically altered the geopolitical landscape. Let's dig in. First up, let's head to Central Europe for the Hungarian-Romanian War of 1919. Shows a map of the former Austro-Hungarian Empire, then zooming in on Hungary and Romania. So, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, a major player in WWI, completely disintegrated. Hungary, now a vastly reduced nation, was in turmoil. In March 1919, a communist government led by Bela Kun seized power in Budapest, establishing the Hungarian Soviet Republic. This sent shivers down the spine of the Allied powers, who were terrified of Bolshevism spreading across Europe, especially after the Russian Revolution. At the same time, Romania, an Allied power that had suffered greatly in WWI, had significant territorial ambitions. They wanted to incorporate Transylvania, a region with a large Romanian population but historically part of the Kingdom of Hungary. The Allied Supreme Council actually gave Romania permission to advance into Hungarian territory to ensure order and enforce the new, yet-to-be-finalized borders. Shows photos of Bela Kun and Romanian soldiers advancing. Bela Kun, feeling pressured and seeing his new communist state surrounded by hostile neighbors, decided to launch an offensive. The Hungarian Red Army tried to push back Romanian forces in Transylvania and even attacked newly formed Czechoslovakia. For a brief moment, it looked like they might succeed. But the Romanian army, bolstered by French advisors and Allied support, launched a massive counteroffensive. By August 1919, Romanian forces had not only pushed back the Hungarians but had also marched all the way to Budapest, occupying the capital. They essentially dismantled Kun's communist regime. The occupation was harsh, with widespread looting and reprisals, but it effectively ended the Hungarian Soviet Republic. This war was crucial in shaping modern Hungary and Romania, cementing Romania's claim to Transylvania and highlighting the volatile nature of post-empire nation-building. It was a precursor to the Treaty of Trianon, which would formally reduce Hungary's territory by 2/3. Next, let's shift our focus northeast to a much larger and incredibly significant conflict. The Polish-Soviet War, 1919-1922, shows a map of Eastern Europe, emphasizing Poland and Soviet Russia. This war was a monumental clash of ideologies and national aspirations. After over a century of partition, Poland had finally regained its independence at the end of WWI. Their national hero, Józef Pilsudski, dreamed of a Międzymorze Federation, a bloc of independent states between the Baltic and Black Seas, to protect against both German and Russian expansion. On the other hand, Soviet Russia, under Lenin and Trotsky, saw Poland as a crucial land bridge for exporting communist revolution to Western Europe, especially Germany. Shows portraits of Pilsudski and Lenin Trotsky. The fighting began almost immediately as Polish and Soviet forces, both newly formed and eager to expand their respective spheres of influence, clashed along an undefined frontier. Pilsudski, realizing that Ukraine was key, launched a major offensive in April 1920, attempting to create an independent Ukraine allied with Poland. He briefly captured Kyiv, but the Red Army, under brilliant commanders like Mikhail Tukhachevsky, soon launched a powerful counteroffensive. Shows maps depicting the dramatic shifts in the front lines. With Soviet forces pushing deep into Poland, the Soviet advance was terrifyingly rapid. They pushed the Poles back hundreds of miles, threatening Warsaw itself. It looked like Poland's newfound independence might be crushed, and the specter of Bolshevism spreading across Europe became very real. Think about the tension and fear in Warsaw during the summer of 1920. Then came what's often called the *** miracle on the Vistula***, shows archival photos of Polish soldiers, possibly cavalry, defending Warsaw in August 1920. Just outside Warsaw, the Poles, led by Pilsudski and General Maxime Weygand, a French advisor, launched a daring and brilliantly executed counterattack. They exploited a gap in the Soviet lines, encircled large parts of the Red Army, and inflicted a devastating defeat. The Soviets were forced into a chaotic retreat. This battle is considered one of the most decisive battles in history, as it halted the westward expansion of Soviet communism and arguably saved Western Europe from a Bolshevik invasion. The war dragged on for a few more months, but the momentum had shifted. The *** Treaty of Riga, ***, signed in March 1921, formally ended the conflict. It set the Polish-Soviet border far to the east of the Curzon Line, the proposed Allied border, giving Poland significant Ukrainian and Belarusian territories. This border would remain largely unchanged until World War II. The Polish-Soviet War was absolutely pivotal. It secured Poland's independence for 2 decades and forced the Soviets to temporarily abandon their plans for European revolution. Now, intertwined with the Polish-Soviet War, we also have the tragic story of the ** Ukrainian-Soviet War, ***, which ran roughly from 1917 to 1921. Shows a map of Ukraine with various factions highlighted. Ukraine, caught between 2 giants, suffered immensely. After the collapse of the Russian Empire, various Ukrainian factions emerged, all seeking to establish an independent Ukrainian state. You had the Ukrainian People's Republic, the Ukrainian state under German protection for a time, anarchist movements like Nestor Makhno's Black Army, and, of course, the Bolsheviks trying to establish Soviet power. It was a multi-sided civil war within a war. The Ukrainian nationalists, often led by figures like Simon Petliura, found themselves fighting the Bolsheviks, the White Russians' anti-Bolshevik forces, and even the Poles at different times. Pilsudski's 1920 offensive into Ukraine was initially an attempt to support Petliura's Ukrainian People's Republic. But ultimately, the Poles prioritized their own national interests when signing the Treaty of Riga. Shows photos of Petliura Makhno and scenes of devastation in Ukraine. Tragically, Ukrainian independence was ultimately crushed by the Red Army. The country was eventually absorbed into the Soviet Union as the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. Though parts of western Ukraine were incorporated into Poland, this period of intense fighting and shifting alliances led to immense suffering, famine, and loss of life for the Ukrainian people. And its legacy of struggle for sovereignty continues to resonate today. Let's move south, far from Europe's snow-capped peaks, to the ** Turkish War of Independence, 1919 to 1923, ** shows a map of the Ottoman Empire after WWI, showing Allied occupation zones. The Ottoman Empire, once a vast and powerful entity, was utterly defeated in WW. Under the Armistice of Mudros, its territories were occupied by Allied forces, and the Treaty of Savers, Echenjo by Arshur, proposed to dismember it almost entirely, creating an independent Armenia, an autonomous Kurdistan, and giving significant land to Greece and Italy, while leaving a tiny Turkish state in Anatolia. This was unacceptable to many Turks. A nationalist movement, galvanized by the charismatic general Mustafa Kemal, later Ataturk, began to organize resistance from within Anatolia. Kemal had famously said, "Either independence or death," and he meant it. Shows photos of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk and Turkish and Greek soldiers. The spark that truly ignited the war was the Greek invasion of Anatolia in May 19, with Allied backing, to claim territory with historical Greek populations. This invasion, intended to be a quick land grab, instead fueled Turkish nationalism and solidified support for Kemal's movement. What followed was a brutal 4-year war. The Turkish nationalists fought against the Greeks, the French, the British, and even some Armenian forces. Kemal's forces, despite being poorly equipped at times, fought with incredible determination. Key victories like the Battle of Sakarya in 1921 halted the Greek advance, and the subsequent Great Offensive in 1922 drove the Greek army completely out of Anatolia. Shows maps of the shifting front lines in Anatolia, culminating in Turkish victory. The Turkish War of Independence was a spectacular success for the nationalists. It led to the abrogation of the humiliating Treaty of and the signing of the ** Treaty of Lausanne in 1923 ***, which established the modern borders of the Republic of Turkey. It also led to a massive population exchange between Greece and Turkey, uprooting millions of people. This war was foundational for modern Turkey, creating a secular republic out of the ashes of an empire. Finally, let's briefly touch on the ** Third Anglo-Afghan War of 1919 ** shows a map of Afghanistan and British India. While not as sprawling as the others, this conflict, fought in May 1919, was highly significant for Afghanistan. For decades, Afghanistan had been a buffer state between British India and the Russian Empire, essentially under British foreign policy control. After WWI, Afghanistan's new emir, Amanullah Khan, saw an opportunity to gain full independence. shows photos of Afghan fighters and British Indian Army soldiers. Amanola declared full independence from Britain and launched an invasion of British India. The war itself was relatively short and geographically limited, mainly to the Khyber Pass region. The British, still reeling from WWI and facing unrest in India, responded with air power and ground forces, but they also didn't want a prolonged conflict. The war ended quickly with the *** Treaty of Rawalpindi, ***, signed in August 1919, while Afghanistan didn't achieve all its territorial goals. The treaty formally recognized Afghanistan's full sovereignty and independence in foreign affairs. This was a huge win for Afghanistan, finally breaking free from British influence after decades. Returns to a world map, showing the areas discussed. So, there you have it. The years immediately following World War I were far from peaceful. They were a maelstrom of national liberation movements, ideological clashes, and territorial disputes, all occurring in the power vacuum left by collapsed empires. These wars profoundly shaped the 20th century. They defined national borders, created new states, sparked future conflicts, and solidified the rise of new ideologies. They are a stark reminder that the end of one war often marks the beginning of another, especially when the underlying causes of conflict, imperial ambitions, ethnic tensions, and power vacuums remain unresolved. What do you think was the most impactful of these forgotten conflicts? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a chaotic period of history, please hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.